What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Team to Beat Miami Heat basketball channel. My name is Amir, joined today by my favorite guest again, and my only guest, Vonig. How's it going, Ben?
Good, man. Good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I love how you change your name every single time we're on one of these. What? Dream 34. Let me guess.
Dream Shake,
Hakeem,
baby.
obviously. For the viewers out there, that's Hakeem Olajuwon, obviously. One of the most underrated GOATs ever. Not like an actual GOAT, but obviously one of the greatest centers of all time. Um, So for today's video, I want to talk. There's no new news on the Damian Lillard front. Um, we obviously know that they're at a stalemate right now. Portland wants more. Miami's asking, "What the hell does more mean to you guys?" They won't tell them, so we're not even communicating. We're the only show right now making an offer right now, so I don't know what the Trailblazers are doing. Like, it doesn't really make sense for me that they're waiting this long to move Damian Lillard. So not much on the Damian Lillard front. So for today's video, I want to talk about what's Miami Heat's plan B. What's if we, for some reason, hypothetically, which I don't think is going to happen, I think he's going to get traded to the Miami Heat eventually this summer, this offseason. But anything's possible, like our old friend Kevin Garnett said, right? So what's if Portland trades him to some other random team that pops up out of the woodwork, or what's if they keep him for the season? So, what should Miami Heat do in that sense? So, my question for you, Vonig, it could be either this offseason or the next, because we talked about if, in theory, Dame doesn't come, what Miami initially is going to do is fill out the rest of their roster, right? So they're going to have to add two more free agents. They have 13 men on their roster. We did a video last week or so, which we talked about potential backup point guards or backup power forwards or bigs for the Miami Heat. So we already discussed who we think the Miami Heat should sign, right? If we don't get Damian Lillard. So for this exercise, who do you think the Heat should go after? And I'm thinking of, like, it doesn't have to be a whale like Dame. It doesn't have to be a superstar, but I'm thinking all-star level, right? Like, what all-star player can we pivot, shift focus on, and try to acquire, let's say realistically, by the February trade deadline? Like, let's see if there's any drama that ensues during the regular season or even next offseason. Do you have any players in mind? Do you think that might be disgruntled or even just could be a good fit for the Miami Heat?
My go-to is always Tyus Jones. Um, I know he just landed with the Wizards from the trade during the offseason, and I know he has one more year on his deal. I'm not sure what the long-term role is for him with the Wizards. I mean, they're added Jordan Poole too, and re-signed Kuzma. I don't know if they're planning on Tyus being their point guard of the future, but that guy definitely deserves a starting point guard position and job in the league. So that's somebody
But
that I would definitely keep my eyes on.
But I said all star. I said whale. Pat Riley's hunting for whales, not guppies, my friend. So
Dude, Tyus, with given the minutes, he could be an all star. I know that's ambitious to say, but he steps in and he covers Jaw Morant like it was nothing. So I don't know if you see his minutes increase, he could put up some numbers for you. But yeah, okay, all star level point guard that's available.
it doesn't have to be point guard. It could just be another player. Like, we were going after Bradley Beal initially. The reports were that he chose the
Yeah.
Heat.
Oh, hey, you're gonna love this suggestion
Oh
because
God,
you
what's
already know. You could. Hey, Miami was on his radar 2 trades ago, and you want to know disgruntled? It was already James Harden. So that's an easy one if they can't make a move to the Clippers. But I just would see that as a train wreck. But I mean, it'd be interesting if he played the point guard position for you guys too, and just facilitated. It'd be interesting. I don't think he'd be a championship, but um, I don't know. It's worth a try.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I've done other videos where I talked about, like, player empowerment, flexibility. Like, it's not about salary cap and free agency anymore, right? Stars can demand a trade anytime. And I think I'm putting out a video tomorrow talking about how James had an interview with, like, the USA Today Sports um, website, and he talked about just like his empowerment, like obviously jumping ship. And they brought up Dame Lillard. Like, what do you think about the Portland scenario? And he gave his 2 cents, saying that he thinks that, he sees both sides. Like, the organization should reward the loyal player probably and like let them go where they want to go, but then they also should be getting like a decent return. But you're obviously never going to get a full return on a superstar. So I understand that sentiment, but definitely not like because James wants to go to the Clippers, so like I don't think he'd change his mind. So I don't even think that's an option theoretically. But if it was, like that's like the absolute last resort. I honestly don't. I wouldn't want that, honestly, because I don't think he's going to accept the contract that we talked about. Right, that he's going to be like. I don't think he's going to like accept anything that's below 20 million per season. And I don't think the Miami Heat are going to offer that because we're going to get. I don't think they want to go into the second apron of the luxury tax because of James Harden. Right, like with Dame Lillard, like fine, that's fine. But like with that, we're going to be penalized and we're not going to be able to trade for other players by stacking salaries together. We're not going to get any mid-level players or buyout players with that. So I say no because I don't think it moves us over the needle. But like out of desperation, I could see some Miami Heat fans saying, yeah, James Harden still like basically an all-star kind of, right? Like he's at the cusp of that all-star level. He's not a superstar anymore, but absolutely not. Any other suggestions before you give your comment or give your comment? Then let me know if you have any other suggestions.
I'm just gonna say that. Tell me he's not an upgrade over Kyle Lowry.
Yes and no, because like
Come on, dude. What do you mean yes and no? He's absolutely an upgrade over Kyle Lowry.
I don't know, like yes on paper, but like in the box score, like he might be a negative to us, man, with all those turnovers and like poor shooting, like in the playoffs when it comes to that time. Like at least Kyle Lowry like knows his role. Like he'll be playing like 20 minutes per game in the playoffs. He's going to be like shooting like 9 shots. He might go like 40%, 30, like from the field, not even from three. From three, that'd be amazing. But Kyle Lowry will probably go like 4 for 9 from the field. He'll be fine. He's not going to shoot 30 shots, make 4 of them, have 8 turnovers like James would. So
I just want to see it because I want to see you be forced to say something nice about him.
fuck that. I've gotten so many players on this Heat team that I like have disliked, like hated Shaq, because you obviously know I hate the Lakers the most. I didn't hate LeBron, but I didn't like LeBron because he was battling and like compared. Obviously, Dwayne Wade doesn't compare to him, but like they had their fair share of head-to-head battles, like and really like awesome games, right? Like Dwayne Wade was like the mini LeBron, so they had that rivalry. So I never really liked LeBron because of that. I wanted Dwayne Wade to be obviously number one from that draft class, and so we got LeBron. So then of course I like had to like him because of that. But then he left us in like such a shitty way. So I was like, fuck LeBron. And then now he's on the Lakers and beat the Heat. So fuck him times two, right? But then also Kyle Lowry is like someone I've hated as well, like that flopping bastard. Like so, it's like I always seem to get guys on my team that I like have hated at one point. But James would be like the most hated, I think. Maybe outside of Shaq. I mean, Shaq was always like lovable. I just didn't like him because he was on the Lakers, right? I liked him on Orlando. Hated the Lakers in general, so I hate anybody from the Lakers. So I think Harden would be the most hated Miami Heat player if that was ever going to happen, which I doubt it would. So
yeah. As part of your next question, as far as big game hunting, if you want, Riley's going after stars. Those are the only two. I mean, Lillard and Harden are the only ones, publicly where everybody knows that they want out. Besides that, I think we're going to need to kind of see once the season starts and who might pop up on that list of disgruntled players. But a lot of the teams, I mean, the players that are all-star caliber, even the younger ones, I mean, most of the teams, they've signed their extensions and kind of solidified that they're going to be with those rosters. So, and you don't, as you said, you don't want any guppies, then I don't got any other suggestions for you.
I do. I got a few.
Give me some guppies. you got stars.
No, I got stars. All right. So the two guys that have been rumored to be interested in the Heat, or the Heat have been interested in, one is a guy we missed last year. Do you know who that is? Not KD, but he had a French teammate who got one of the worst bags in terms of trades in NBA history last year?
Oh, Karl Anthony Towns?
No, dude. Donovan Mitchell.
Oh, dude, he's not leaving the Cavs yet, is he? They
No.
said last report I saw on them is that they're gonna run with their Mitchell, Garland, Mobley, Allen core. But I guess I guess you're right. I mean, they can't pay all those players, and if they don't have a successful season this year, he could become available. And yeah, Mitchell, could be a good option for sure. He's an upgrade over Harden.
Yeah, obviously. We missed out on him last year. He said, he wanted to come to the Heat as well, and he's friends with Bam. Weren't able to obtain him. We didn't have the right pieces for that trade, obviously. So it was a little different than the Dame scenario where he exclusively said he wants the Heat. So I guess we have leverage in that sense. And because he has an insane contract and because of his age also. So there's other factors like Mitchell's younger, has a pretty decent contract. Decent when you look at players like Jaylen Brown's contract. Jesus Christ. I mean, it's not horrendous, but it's just insane to think of because like he's the second best player on that team. He's like definitely 1B. And he hasn't had the greatest history in the playoffs, but like the next guy that's going to get it is going to be obviously like a young superstar type player. Like obviously Jokic was the last player who had the largest contract in NBA history, right? So it just happens. Like Mike Conley, like 5 years ago, got like a $200 million thing, and he was the highest paid at one point. So it's like comparable to like the Mike Conley scenario. Then eventually other people are going to get the bag. That's the nature of the business. But Mitchell, so apparently Tim Bontemps from ESPN had a report like 2 days ago saying like he thinks that Mitchell is not going to sign an extension with the Cavs. Like he didn't necessarily want to go to the Cavs. That wasn't one of his destinations that he selected. It's not a bad team. They have a good core, but to your point, if they lose again the next year or in the following year and they're not contending, then he's going to be 28, still in his prime. He's going to want to compete and contend in his prime. He doesn't want to pull a Damian Lillard or like a James Harden where they're in their like 30s and they're like looking to find a contending team and when they only have a few years left on their prime. So he mentioned he doesn't expect him to re-sign his contract and that he thinks next year potentially, or even this season, or next off season, Cleveland should then trade him because when he has 2 years left on his contract, the last year is going to be like a player option. They might as well get assets. Now that's the whole thing in this new NBA. There's no free agency where you have to save up your money and then hope that player wants to come to your team like LeBron did and Bosh did, right? Back in 2010. Now it's like we need to trade this player and get some assets back, some draft capital and a young player before he walks away for free, like in free agency, right? So he was suggesting like now is the best time for Cleveland to consider that. So that could be an option. Let me share my screen real quick. Let me know if you could see it. Can you see my screen?
It's super small, so you got to tell me what I'm looking at.
Let me zoom in. So I'm looking at. There we go. Looking at Donovan Mitchell's contract. So he signed a 5-year, $163 million deal. Like think about that compared to Jaylen Brown's 5-year, $307.
Double.
Insane. Like a steal, right? Bam's on that like rookie scale, like the first contract after the rookie scale contract. They're the same age, so they both got this type of deal based on the CBA at the time. So he is in the third year of his deal, so he's going to be making $32 million next season, and then he's going to make 34 in 2024. And then he has a player option for 37. So he has 3 years left. Like really good contract, right? If we're looking at that. So they were saying, Tim Bontemps was saying, you might as well try to trade him now because he also doesn't have an insane contract and he could re-sign with that team, which that contract will be insane, right, at that point. But it's not like, again, Damian Lillard where he's making 50, 60 million like in the final 2 years of his contract. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that would be a good transition to go back to the Donovan Mitchell idea, knowing that he is young and he's coming off his best year like of his career? Like I'll look at his stats real quick too, but
yeah, Mitchell when he was on the Jazz, I actually thought he was a little bit overrated just because I thought he wasn't efficient, but he's gotten better, for sure. He used to like get 40 points on like 30 shots and those types of stats. But he's gotten better over the last 2-3 seasons for sure. I think from a Miami Heat perspective, you gotta hope that the Cavs lose and don't have a good season. That's what's going to really push that, because then the Cavs organization, they're going to start looking at like, hey, Garland, Mobley, those are their two younger players, right? Those are the two players that they drafted. They might, if they feel like this foursome of Allen, Mobley, Garland, and Mitchell are not going to get them in the title contention, why are they going to max out Mitchell on some crazy contract like you just suggested what Jaylen Brown got, when you can't really actually legitimately compete? You're probably better served going with the younger early 20s guys and then looking to add to that core. So yeah, I think he'd be a good fit for Miami. You are right. I do remember that he was interested in going to the Heat. And the other question I would just have is making sure that the timeline matches, right? Like Bam is young, but you want to also capitalize on Jimmy's age, right? Like Jimmy's window is not that much longer, right?
Yeah,
So
2 years.
you got to get somebody in there that's going to make an immediate impact and get you guys back into the title games again.
Yeah, so I think why I like this option is because he's 26. He'd have, like, if we can get it somehow miraculously, like sometime during this season, right, by February, that'd be huge because he fits both Bam's window and Jimmy's window. Jimmy's 34. He's got probably like 2 seasons left, so he can take on that scoring for the Miami Heat, right? Because Bam and Jimmy are defensive minded, right? And they're not the best scorers, like 3-level scorers. So he's a 3-level scorer. So he would open up a lot for the Heat. He could shoot threes. He can shoot the mid range. He's dynamic. He can get to the rim. Pretty athletic, right? Like he's had some pretty nasty dunks in his career as well. So he'd fit in Jimmy's timeline because he's going to be that like relief to the team because they needed scoring badly. They don't have to depend on undrafted fools that are inconsistent to give you all that scoring, right? Like we don't need as much scoring off the bench. He scored 28 points per game, if you see right here last year, which is a career high, which is like spectacular. To your point, his field goal percentage went up. He was shooting 48% this year, the year before 44, 43, 44. So not really effective. And then 3-point shooting was his best of his career, 38%, like 35, 38, 36 the years before. So I think he would fit Jimmy's timeline and then also Bam's, because him and Bam, I think their contracts are both up at the same time. And that would be the new Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown scenario, right? Where Jason Tatum, his contract's going to be ending, I think, after this year. And he's going to get, if Jaylen got 307, what do you think Jason's going to get? 380?
340.
Like something insane, right? So like the same scenario will happen then with the Heat if they want to keep Bam and Mitchell, which could be a really good duo, right? Like, I mean, Mitchell's a guard, like a combo guard, and we have Bam who's our center. Those two are going to get insane amounts of money, probably in that 300 range too, right? Depending on how successful they would be with this Jimmy timeline. So I think he does fit in both, right? Like then you re-up, you have two 28-year-olds leading your team. Who knows? That could be good. The other player that I wanted to bring up was Zach LaVine. So there's been rumors that Chicago wants to blow it up and rebuild. DeMar's getting older. He's like 35, 36. Zach LaVine, is definitely a really good player. He has a 5-year, $215 million extension he signed last year. So he has 4 years left, player option for the last year. His is a pretty decent contract too right now, 40, 43, 45, and 48. I mean, that's not like horrendous, right? What are your thoughts on Zach LaVine's fit on the Miami Heat? And also, do you think he would be a better fit versus Donovan Mitchell?
I think that Mitchell would be the better fit, but I think LaVine's a good consolation too. I like his game a lot. He's streaky as well. He'll catch fire and win you a game, but then he disappears for moments as well. But I feel like from a available players position, like if you had LaVine, Butler, Bam, I mean that's pretty good trio. On top of it, in terms of when you're just talking about like hey, Butler's window ending in transition, like I think LaVine, not saying that he's the same type of player as Butler. I'm just saying in terms of position, he falls more into a line into replacing Jimmy's roster spot versus I think like you said, Mitchell's more of the combo guard, so he can play the point guard, shooting guard position for you. So I think he's another good one, but I think I'd take Mitchell with the Heat fit first as option A.
Yeah, I mean, he's younger as well. He's had every NBA player's had injuries, but he hasn't had the major injury. Like, I mean, with like medical advances and technology now, like a torn ACL, like these days is nothing compared to back in the day. Remember the back in the 90s and early 2000s, like if you tore your ACL, you're screwed. Like they're actually cutting into your knee. So they don't have like the microscopic or whatever, from butchering the term, surgery. Now it's like less evasive. And I mean, he tore his ACL when, like second year, maybe third year, and like, or
yeah, well, he was still on the Wolves.
Yeah, and like he's still like super athletic and a high flyer, and like came back and won those dunk contests and stuff. Like, the good thing about him is like he's developed such a good jump shot and 3-point shot, which is pretty damn good. Like for the high volume that he takes, 7, 8 3-pointers a game, as you can see over here, shooting 37, 38, 40, 38%, like 38 career, like on high volume, like, and he's taking some difficult threes as well. So super impressive. Like at the beginning of his career is more just like attacking the rim, but he's developed that jump shot. Like you could see first year 34% from three, and also like 44% from two. Look at his exponentially. His 2-point field goals are up now. He's shooting mid range and taking better shots. So he's consistent too when it comes to scoring. Look at that, 25, 24, 27, 25, 24 over the past 5 years. Like,
and that's with him taking on, basically more of a, the number one, number two option on the team. So he's shown that he can handle it.
Exactly. Like that's with DeMar averaging he's been with DeMar for what, the last at least 2 seasons, 3 seasons. And he shows that he could be the second fiddle on that team. I think, because would you say he was the second fiddle on that team, or would you say DeMar was the number one, or like they were pretty close? And
Dude, two seasons ago, DeMar was an MVP candidate. I mean, he played out of his mind. Last year, it was probably a little bit more of an even split between the two of them.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I agree with you though. I think Donovan Mitchell would be the first, and then Zach LaVine could be an interesting fit. Like again, he would have to request a trade, or the Bulls would want to like have to blow it up. And again, with 4 years left on his contract and pretty pricey still, like in the high 40s, the last 2 seasons, you'll get 45, 48. Maybe they'll want to trade for a Tyler Hero. Like hypothetically, Tyler Hero's 23, and we could replace our aging guards with Tyler Hero, get in Kyle Lowry on that $30 million expiring contract. So if they're rebuilding, then they want to get their books clear. And then
the Bulls are just in that funky space where they're too good to be bad, and they have too much talent to be bad. And then like they're just kind of in mediocrity, right? Like, and the funny thing is, like, they either need to do the trade and do full-fledged rebuild, and everybody was, it's pretty big bummer as far as what's Lonzo Ball's injury and career trajectory looks like with his knee issues. But I mean, they just re-signed Vucevic, which I thought that was kind of indicative that they're like still trying to hold on to something, and like apparently they think that they've got a chance, which I don't, right? Like, to try to be in that tier with the Bucks and the Celtics, like that's not going to cut it. So I think they're prolonging the inevitable, and whether it's this season or the next, they're going to have to make some really, really big changes, because DeMar's not young either. I mean, he's definitely overachieving where he's at in his career right now.
Yep, totally. And yeah, before we sign off, I'm just looking at some free agents next year in case we don't get Dame. Realistically, again, we're just going to sign some free agents. Maybe a Kelly Oubre or TJ Warren we talked about, right? Like players like that we can sign off the streets to fill the roster. And then I think one of those trades need to happen for Miami to have the possibility of winning a championship with Jimmy Butler the following season, because I think he has 2 to 3 years max. I think he has one more year as like the alpha, essentially. I mean, if Dame came to the Heat, he'd definitely be 1B, right? And I think Dame would come in and be 1A. But yeah, the 2024 free agent list is kind of bleak right now. I don't know if you can see, but Pascal Siakam's number 1 on that list. He's 30 years old. There's rumors about Toronto rebuilding and trading him anyway right now. But Pascal, Buddy Hield's 32 almost. He's been in the league for 8 years. That's crazy. I didn't realize he's that old. Buddy Hield is number 2 in terms of, this is based on, I think, I don't know what they're projecting this based on Spotrac.com. But I see Klay Thompson, who's almost 35 years old. Like, I don't think Klay is going to be moving the needle. Gordon Hayward, like, I don't see anybody on here. Honestly, the only like star that I see, or former All-Star or All-Star, is Pascal Siakam. So it's looking pretty bleak. I think this whole exercise was fun and cute, but ultimately the Miami Heat need to freaking get Damian Lillard, or we are fooked. We are
here's the other thing. I do the same thing, right? Look at free agency list every year, but like you said earlier, it's less and less important now because you could sign your extension and demand a trade like Lillard or Harden. So I think the Heat ultimately, the Heat's like such a player destination anyway. Everybody always, that's at the top of their list. So I think Pat Riley and the Heat will be able to get a trade done, whether it's Lillard or one of the other people that we just talked about.
Harden.
Dude, I just want to see you cheer for him one time, dude. It's hilarious.
What's if he wins the championship, his first ring on Miami? What's if it's like
total karmic justice, man? That'd be just so funny to watch you. It's not gonna happen, but if he did, it would be hilarious.
You know what'd be funny though? Like, I'd have to fucking be happy because, like, how many teams have a championship in the NBA? It's like 50% of the teams in the NBA have a ring, right? Like, it's like 15 only. Yep. Like 50% of the teams don't even have a ring. Like, and we'd have 4. Like, we'd move up the rankings of like top 7 of that 15, right? Like, I think the Warriors have 4, so they're like 1 ahead of us.
Warriors have 5, right?
4.
Well, they have 4 as their dynasty, and then they have one old one, right? When the Rick Barry years.
I don't think so. Did they?
Yeah, they have one from like the 70s, I think.
Let me look it up real quick before we.
I'm gonna guess 1972.
Oh no, they have a lot. How many? Oh wow, they have a lot. Okay, they have 6. Never mind, they're not. So they have 1947. Jesus Christ, it's before my dad was born. 1956, 1975, and then 15, 17, 18, and last year or 2 years ago, 22. So, yep, 3 in the pre-modern era, basically. So, interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if it meant Miami getting their 4th ring and James Harden gets his first, that'd be fine. He'd probably be the third wheel, or he'd probably not be the reason why we win it. It'd be because of Jimmy and Bam.
It wouldn't be because of it. It'd be in spite of him.
Yes. He'll get hurt like Tyler Hero in the first round. He would break his hand in the first round, and like we'll make it to the finals, but actually win. Right? That would be hilarious, or even more annoying actually, because then the asshole would have a ring and he wasn't even part of the playoff run. That would be even more infuriating. That's probably what would happen. Anyway, thanks for joining me today, Bonnie. Had fun as usual, just chopping it up, talking hoops. Let me know if you want to join me again on another one of these. Maybe next week or so. But anyway, thanks for hopping on, bud. I'll talk to you soon.
Man. Likewise.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.